My name is Michelle Rempel. I'm the Member of Parliament for Calgary-Nose Hill, and this is my colleague, Member of Parliament Michael Cooper, who is also the Deputy Shadow Minister for Justice for the Conservative Party of Canada. Today, we held a press conference with the family of alleged murder victims, calling upon the government to fill judicial appointments. And Michael, can you tell people why this is such an issue and why this was such a difficult moment for this family today?
Yeah, well, it's such an issue because of a decision called Jordan, where the Supreme Court set timelines where delay is deemed presumptively unreasonable. After 18 months in provincial court, 30 months in Superior Court. And as a result of the Jordan decision, hundreds of cases across Canada have been thrown out due to delay. And one of the reasons we have this delay is because of the Minister of Justice's complete failure to appoint judges. Right now, we have nearly 60 vacancies across Canada. A year and a half ago, 10 new judicial spots were created in Alberta to deal with the backlog in light of the Jordan decision. A year and a half later, the Justice Minister has managed to fill only one of those vacancies. And in terms of these cases that are being thrown out, in this particular case involving the murder of Sara and 5-year-old Taliya, the trial has been set for the end of November. That's 29 months after the charges were laid in the case of the accused. So we're right up against that Jordan timeline where delay will be deemed presumptively unreasonable.
Right, so the press conference that you're about to watch really shows the human face of these judicial appointment delays. What these delays mean is that cases like this, really serious cases, they're not going to court in a timely fashion. And to me, you know, Michael, it's hard to see survivors of violence and victims of crime go through this. So watch our press conference. I would like to thank you all for joining us here today. First of all, thank you to the families of Sara and Taliya for being here today. Our heartfelt condolences go out to you all for your loss. I would also like to thank you, Michael Baillie, Scott, Mary Lynn, Alex, and Justin, for your strength and for your advocacy on Sara and Taliya's behalf. I'm joined today by my colleague, MP Michael Cooper, who is the Deputy Shadow Minister for Justice. The Hamilton family contacted me last year with their concerns about the upcoming trial of Edward Downey, who has been charged with the alleged murders of Sara and Taliya. They shared their honest fears about the possibility of this case being stayed or dismissed because of the length of time it's taken to schedule a trial date, and as a result, the possibility of the Jordan application. In Alberta, since October 2016 and March 2015-2018, 12 Jordan applications have been granted, one of which is being appealed, and 17 have been proactively stayed on the basis that they would not survive a Jordan application. The concerns that the Hamilton family expressed to me are well-founded. I represent Scott and Marilyn in Ottawa as their MP. I was also the Member of Parliament for Sara and Taliya, and remember how deeply all Calgarians ached for their family after hearing about their deaths. Our entire city grieved with their family in that moment and continues to be greatly impacted by this case. Canada's victims of crime and their families, like Sara, Taliya, Scott, and Marilyn, deserve justice, and they deserve their day in court. The stress of not knowing if a case will be stayed or dismissed to go to trial is unbearable for those who have already gone through so much. And this represents the true human cost of their inaction and negatively affects our community. Canadians must have the assurance that their justice system will work for them and place the rights of victims ahead of those who commit these terrible offenses. Their inability to do the most basic function of appointing judges undermines Canadians' confidence in our judicial system. Every day that the government drags their feet increases the pressure on our courts, adds stress to victims and their families, and allows the opportunities for those accused of serious crimes to have their cases stayed or dismissed. Today, we are once again calling on the Prime Minister and the Minister of Justice to immediately address the growing number of judicial vacancies in Canada. Justin Trudeau and the Minister of Justice are failing Canada's victims of crime, and their families by allowing these vacancies to go unfilled and the backlog of cases to grow within our courts. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Justice need to do their job and support Canada's victims of crime by appointing these judges. And today, we're asking all Canadians, regardless of political stripe, to join with us to sign a petition to do just that. And Canadians can do that by going to www.supportvictims.ca to call upon the government to do just that. I would now like to invite Scott Hamilton to make a brief statement, followed by my colleague, MP Michael Cooper.
The Baillie, Fredette, and Hamilton families had life-changing events occur in July 2016. Not one murder, but two murders, which stole Sara and Taliya from us. We will be attending a trial 29 months after the alleged murderer was charged with the murders of Sara and Taliya. The Supreme Court's decision, called the Jordan application, created a presumptive ceiling of 30 months to protect the rights of those individuals charged with crimes. However, the government's inaction to appoint judges is not protecting the rights of anyone. We are all entitled to trials without undue delay. The families of Sara and Taliya will not see the results of Ms. Rempel and Mr. Cooper's challenge to the government. However, with enough support, we can all assist families of victims in the future. Thank you, Ms. Rempel and Mr. Cooper.
Good morning. I'm Michael Cooper, Member of Parliament for St. Albert, Edmonton, as well as the Deputy Shadow Minister for Justice. I also want to acknowledge my colleague, Larry McGuire, Member of Parliament for Brandon Souris, who is also here. I want to begin by thanking the family of Sara and Taliya for being here, for Scott and his powerful words spoken. You know, one cannot imagine what the family has gone through and is going through in the face of such a loss and the horrendous circumstances surrounding that loss. Indeed, it's tough to imagine a more heinous crime than the murder of a child. And so it takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage for them to be here. We wouldn't need to be here if the Minister of Justice would do her job and deal with the backlog in Canada's courts. The fact is that since the Jordan decision, we have seen a growing backlog and continued inaction from the Minister. By way of background, in the Jordan decision, the Supreme Court determined that delay is presumptively unreasonable when 18 months pass between the laying of a charge and the anticipated or actual conclusion of a trial for matters before provincial court and 30 months for matters before Superior Court. Now, the Minister of Justice last Thursday introduced legislation that the government claims will help deal with the backlog in the courts. But I say to that, too little, too late, because the fact is that 2 years after Jordan, there is something that the minister didn't need to wait 2 years to do, and that is to fill judicial vacancies in a timely manner. And yet, this is something that the minister has completely failed to do. Indeed, under this minister's watch, we have seen a record number of judicial vacancies. The failure of the minister to fill judicial vacancies in a timely manner is not only an abdication of her responsibilities as Minister of Justice, it is completely inexcusable in light of the Jordan decision. As a result of the minister's inaction, more than 400 criminal cases have been thrown out of court due to delay. 400 cases. And some of those cases involve the most serious of offenses, including murder and sexual assault. Indeed, there have been some 12 cases involving murder that have been thrown out due to delay. And thousands of more cases are at risk of being thrown out due to delay. One such case that is at risk is the case involving the individual who is accused of murdering Sara and Taliya. That's because the trial will be set for the very end of November, and that just happens to be 29 months after the charges were laid. So just right up against the 30-month timeline in which delay is then deemed presumptively unreasonable. Now, the Minister of Justice claims that she is taking action to stem the delay, but the record of this minister is exactly the opposite. Let's look at that record a little bit. The minister waited 6 months upon her appointment before she saw fit to appoint a single judge. Since the Jordan decision, the minister has done absolutely nothing to expedite or move forward to fill these judicial vacancies in a timely manner. On average, since Jordan, there have been around 60 vacancies. Right now, there are 56 vacancies across Canada. There are multiple vacancies here in Alberta. A year and a half ago, 10 new judicial spots were created in Alberta. And a year and a half later, the Minister of Justice has seen fit to appoint just one judge to those new 10 spots. 9 remain vacant a year and a half later. I say that is not a record of action, that is a record of inaction, and in light of the Jordan decision, it is a record of negligence. And so, enough is enough. The time has come for the minister to do her job and get these judges appointed. And it is why MP Rempel has brought forward an e-petition so that Canadians can help send that message to the minister and give voice to victims like Sara and Taliya. In addition, I will be introducing a motion before the Justice Committee calling on the minister to appear before the Justice Committee to explain exactly why she has continually failed to fill judicial vacancies in a timely manner, and to call on the Justice Committee to undertake a study on the impact that these vacancies are having on the administration of justice in Canada. Thank you, and we'll open it up to questions.
Mr. Cooper, how is it not hyperbole that you're saying this case is at risk of Jordan, because it has a trial date of 29 months. Jordan does have some leverage in it where, you know, defendants can waive their right to Jordan. There can be the lawyers who agree to move past that date if they so choose. It seems a little hyperbolic to use this case as an example.
Well, the matter is before the courts, and but we are right up against that 29-month period. And in a case that is likely as complex as this one, it's not unusual that there could be further adjournments, further delay. And while this case is scheduled for 3 weeks, you know, again, it's possible there could be delays during the course of the trial, but we're not going to really get into that beyond that. We are up against that timeline, and it is a serious concern. But it's a broader issue when we see 400 cases thrown out across Canada, including 12 murder cases, and the Minister of Justice can't even fill judicial spots created in Alberta for the purpose of dealing with the Jordan backlog.
If I could on that question.
Could you step on by the mic?
This isn't a question for us, it's a question for the family. The family contacted us, and I find it very disturbing that a delay of justice would be called hyperbole. The reality is that a delay of justice has impacts on our families that are impacted by these incidences, and it has impacts for our community. There is no reason why we should be seeing these backlogs. There's a human cost and a human face to these delays, and to me, that's why we're here today, is to express some light on that and ask for action in that regard.
Apparently, the Federal Justice Minister's office is confirming that new appointments will be announced by tomorrow for Alberta.
Well, isn't that interesting, since we put out the press release on this conference yesterday? This should have been done months ago. We have been asking this to be done for months in the House of Commons. My colleague has been up in question period numerous times. You know what, I'm so tired, and people across this country are tired of having to bring families like this out to show the human face of these decisions when they just need to do their job.
But that's what you're looking for, right? So is that
yes, we need
news?
Judges to be appointed so that these cases aren't waiting this long. It's ridiculous. And it shouldn't take action like this for them to do their job. This is, as Michael said so aptly, an abdication of responsibility. And frankly, at this point, the Prime Minister and the Minister need to be apologizing to all of these families and all of these people who are impacted by their inaction.
According to the Minister, a release from the Minister's Department in February, when these new positions were announced, the Minister in 2017 made 100 appointments and elevations. And the claim here is that that's the most any Minister of Justice has made in a one-year period in at least 20 years.
Well, it simply isn't good enough, especially in light of the Jordan decision, when you have 60 vacancies on average across Canada, when you see all of these cases being thrown out, and there is absolutely no excuse for the Minister to leave vacancies, 9 vacancies, a year and a half after the fact that 10 spots were created in Alberta for the express purpose of dealing with court backlog in the face of the Jordan decision. It's simply not good enough.
Thank you.